Welcome to the High Vibration Reset, the podcast for ambitious women ready to step into their next level of success without burnout, overthinking, or ever feeling undervalued. I'm Ciara Conlon, and I've spent the past 18 years helping ambitious women to shift their mindset, elevate their energy, and lead with more confidence. So welcome to season 2 of the podcast. And in this season, I will be interviewing some really interesting people, coaches, therapists, podcasters, people doing great work in the world. And the aim is to give you regular practical tips for raising your vibration, but also ways to reset when things don't go to plan. I'm very excited to introduce my very first guest, Fiona Brennan. Now, Fiona is CEO of The Positive Habit, a wellness company dedicated to helping people make positivity their default state of mind. She's also a motivational speaker, best-selling author of 3 books, and a highly sought-after therapist. I wanted to bring Fiona on to talk about the subconscious mind, but also how she maintains that wonderful high vibration that you'll see in this podcast. I know you're going to love the conversation. I planned for the episode to be 30 minutes, but we ran over because there were so many questions that I wanted to ask her. But look, let's get into it. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the episode. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please follow so that you'll get your updates and be informed live when the next episode is out. Hope you enjoy. Hello. So Fiona Brennan, thank you so much for being my first guest on the High Vibration Reset. Very exciting.
Ooh, I know it is. I'm absolutely delighted. Thank you, Ciara. It feels amazing to be the first guest on a podcast. Thank you 1,000. Brilliant.
Brilliant. We're both delighted and excited.
We are. Yeah, it feels very special.
Fiona is a coach, a motivational speaker, a therapist, hypnotherapist, best-selling author, and CEO of The Positive Habit. And I want to get this right because I loved this. So your mission is to guide thousands towards making positivity their default state of mind. I love it.
Yes. I need to change that. I need to say millions at this stage.
I was thinking
I've already done thousands, for God's sake.
I was going to call you out on that one. I was saying surely hundreds of thousands now at this stage.
I hope so, Ciara. Yeah.
No, brilliant. So this is what you don't know. I came across you first in Inside Timer.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Not a very long time ago. So I remember seeing a fellow Irish person and I thought, oh, and I listened to one of your meditations. I thought, I must reach out to that lovely woman. And I never did.
Okay. Yeah.
So then you reached out to me after a Claire McKenna interview that I did. And you sent me a lovely message.
Yes.
So then you've been in my radar since then.
Oh, lovely, Ciara. Do you know, Inside Timer is a great resource, to be honest. And it's interesting because I've been on it for years and I'm only starting now to actually interact a little bit more with it because it's I don't know how many followers, but it's kind of effortless in the sense, of growing an audience there because it's a worldwide platform. And I think it's just wonderful that it's there. Like I use it all the time myself, to listen to other people from all over the world. So it's a fantastic resource. Like it really is. Yeah.
So that's how even 2 Irish women connect, huh? So it is a fantastic resource.
Yeah, exactly.
But look, what I'd love to know, and it always intrigues me, how you came to do what you do. Because, when we were growing up in the Irish school system, it wasn't exactly a choice, an option when you went to the career guidance counsellor. It was, medicine, law, business, or maybe a teacher, not a motivational speaker and hypnotherapist.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I've never really followed a very conventional path, to be honest, Ciara. The first 10 years of my life, in terms of work and career, were spent in the world and field of theatre, acting. And yeah, so that was something that I was incredibly uh, driven by and to do. It was a very strong calling that I had. And I suppose that, I was also someone who had had a lot of upheaval, emotional sort of turmoil in my own life. I'm a very emotional person, right?
Interesting.
And that is pretty good in the world of acting because you have to access a lot of
Of
emotions. I've
course. Yeah.
always been fascinated by the human mind and why people do things they do, which again is very much connected into acting. You're studying characters, you're trying to understand them, you're just, you're exhibiting their emotions and you're getting into their world. However, that's the kind of, not the shiny side of it, but
Yeah.
the reality was that I was struggling a lot. And, my sense of identity was very much wrapped up into my sense of achievement, if you like. So most of the time as an actor, unless you really are one of the few, you're out of work, So I spent, and you're going in and it's basically,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's good training for the field of rejection because you just get them time and time again. And, it's very, you need such a, like, I think that there's a whole area of body work that needs to be done in this field because you're very vulnerable, especially when you're younger. And so much of it for me was like, oh, I'm not, maybe I'm not getting the job because I'm not pretty enough, or I'm too thin, or I'm too
Of
fat, or I'm
course.
blonde and I
Yeah.
should be dark and I should be this and I should, every single thing that I could think of why I didn't get the job. But I know now why I didn't get a lot of jobs. And that was that I simply didn't have the faith or the confidence in myself. And when someone walks into a room and they don't have that faith and confidence in themselves, it's very hard for other people to do so. So
It's picked
yeah,
up easily. Yeah.
yeah. So it was quite a tumultuous, exciting time as well. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
paint it
Yeah.
all as, this negative thing. It wasn't. It was like, I've always been very entrepreneurial, always like, from a very early age, when there wasn't work, I set up theatre companies with other actors. I made things happen rather than just sit around. And I think I've always had that drive, but what happened was, it was 2007 January, and I just decided, like, right in the middle of a successful run. I was actually a play that was going
Yeah.
very, very well, full houses booked out, and I was playing this character, and honestly, Ciara, like, it was just so raw, and I was putting myself through the ringer night after night. This woman
Wow.
who had gone through such misfortune, miscarriage, was being abused by her husband, every kind of thing. And again, what I didn't know then is that the way the subconscious mind works is it doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So I'm going through all of this, without any kind of
Poor.
protective yield or shield for my own
Yeah.
nervous
Yeah.
system. And that was just a lack of awareness. I didn't know why I felt so dreadful. But looking back, it's kind of obvious. But I had this epiphany on stage, which was, I don't want to do this anymore. And it came to me like a bolt. Now, it just was like an electric shock right there in the middle of the stage with the audience in front of me. What a thought to receive, because you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You're on stage. You can't just walk off. But I felt like walking off. Of course I didn't. And I saw it through, and I did, and can proudly say I gave it my best. Even with that knowledge inside, I did give it my best. But I'll be honest as well, I haven't looked back since. And, what was driving me towards the career now that I've had, and it's the last 13 years I've been doing this work, is essentially the characters that I saw suffer, I couldn't bear to continue to watch them suffer, you know, especially in theatre. It's not Hollywood in terms of happy ending. It's often very dramatic and, you know, tragedy. And I wanted to somehow make it better for them, which of course I couldn't. I wasn't the playwright. So this work now, there was just a very strong pull towards helping people alleviate emotional pain and suffering. And I'm very, very skilled at that, because I suppose, first of all, I understand it firsthand. But second of all, I've just built up over the years an incredible ability to see patterns within a person, to recognize how and when to intervene. You know, it's a very skilled job. I mean, I don't really identify as a coach as such, to be honest. I am a therapist, if you like. And, you know, a lot of my work it's quite deep, you know, in terms of I will look at the full picture of what's happening for my client.
Yeah.
And it's only through that actually do you get sustainable shifts. Because when I first started out as a clinical hypnotherapist, there is this kind of misconception, which I've done a lot of work to kind of break down, is that, you know, it's a magic wand and you know, if you want to lose weight, you go to hypnosis and you'll lose weight and that'll be that. And you don't have to do anything. And it's just not the case. I mean, hypnotherapy is a very, very powerful tool, but it is just a tool. And it does deal with the subconscious mind, which is why it's so powerful. But I think that, you know, we do need to be, I'm a big believer in being ethical. And I suppose, you know, that came on pretty early in my work, that I realized if I was really going to help people, I needed to take a very sort of unique approach, and one that I was sort of cultivating and creating.
So the dark night of the soul, it didn't give you any warning, no, on stage.
Yeah, like exactly. I suppose with these things though, Ciara, like it feels like it's out of a bolt, out of the blue. But if you're actually, you look back and you see
You
there
track
were,
back.
I'm sure there were loads of warnings to me, but I just didn't have the awareness. I was completely oblivious to all of this. I wasn't in touch with my body. I wasn't in touch with my thoughts. I wasn't in touch with myself.
So what happened next? So you're on stage, you have the epiphany, this isn't the life that I want. And you said that you were a very emotional person. You were very raw with all of these feelings.
Yeah.
So how did you get to, you know, realize that, or do your own healing, I suppose, before you went out and worked on others?
I think motherhood. So I had, at that point, I was really, like, I got married. I suppose today you'd say it's quite young, but I was 28 when I got married, and I wanted to have a baby. Like, I was always someone who wanted to have children. I just absolutely adore them. But it took me a good few years to get pregnant. So I was going on that journey as well throughout those, the plays and the auditions and all of that. And maybe subconsciously something, I knew that somewhere deep down, and I really believe we have so much wisdom and intuition, I kind of knew that if I was going to continue living that life, which was late nights, pubs, you know, that whole kind of world, that I wasn't going to give myself the best chance of what I really wanted. And so that was January 2007, and my son was born in December 2007.
Wow.
So, like, you know, he's 17 now, and I am literally like, the sun shines as far as I'm concerned. Luca is the name Luca is light, and to me, he just exudes light. So when he was, you know, a toddler, when he was a baby, I stopped working altogether, which was very hard financially. We didn't have, you know, these days you need two incomes coming in. But I was pretty determined. Like, I'm a very determined person, and I was determined that I was going to be with him at least as much as, you know, for the first full year. I said, at 12 months, I'm not doing anything else, and I don't care. And it's the best thing that I ever did in terms of just that, you know, and I know it's not accessible to everyone. You know, it was a luxury in many ways, but I was just determined. And God, we're rewinding a lot here, Ciara, but essentially, like, what happened, I suppose, when you asked me where did I get now, it was really through being a mother. And I think I've seen this with my clients, is that you start to see the patterns of your own behavior, and you start to see the impact that they have on your child
Absolutely.
And I remember there was another raw moment where I just lost it. I lost my, you know, shit.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I hear you, sister.
Oh, it was just awful. Like the guilt and the shame for shouting and screaming at my little boy because he couldn't put his shoes on fast enough for me. Just lost it. And I remember, like, I can still see his face, and I just broke down, and I knew I needed help. Like, this wasn't right. That's sometimes what it takes, you know, is that you just know in your heart, this is just so wrong. Like, I'm a kind, loving person. What's going on?
Absolutely. But I'm delighted, you know, that you've had the vulnerability to share that. And it's really important for young mothers to know that.
Yeah.
It's the most difficult job in the world.
Yes,
And much,
exactly.
you know, we adore our children,
Yeah.
but they really drive us, you know, to the edge. I've had that experience, Fiona.
Yeah.
And that has been, I can thank, you know, one of my sons in particular, you know who you are, who, you know, brought me to that moment where I had to change,
Yeah.
where I
Yeah.
realized that this wasn't working. So they are
Yeah.
our teachers.
There are teachers, and where I lived at the time, I used to walk past, and there was this, it said psychotherapy. I didn't even really know what psychotherapy actually meant. Was that a psychologist? Was it you know, what was, I didn't know the difference between all these psychiatrists. What does that mean? You know, and
You didn't need to before then.
yeah, but it said low cost available. And like I said, we didn't have a lot of money back then. And I remember thinking, God, maybe I could do that. But even back then, Ciara, like, there was a lot of shame and stigma around it. Like, I didn't tell Ciara, my husband. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell anybody. Whereas now you can quite openly say I'm going to therapy.
Yeah.
But I just felt like it was something maybe to be ashamed of or weak.
Yeah. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
which we know, of course. Yeah. It's strength in being able to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I went solidly, I'd say, for a year and a half, 2 years. And within that time, I'd had a miscarriage because we wanted another baby. I'd gone through a huge amount. And basically, I cried like a lot in those sessions. And that's where the healing started. And
Well done.
yeah, it's like, you know, that's where everything started to shift. And my therapist was really lovely, and a good therapist will always have your back. And I remember her saying to me, Fiona, I have a feeling you're going to go ahead and do something marvelous.
Oh, wonderful.
And I was like, oh, what is she talking about? How, what can I do? I'm just a bag of tears here, you know? But I think she saw in me my determination and my compassion, and, you know, that, I suppose, is the strengths that still serve me today. And you know, I feel like I am now a walking, talking, I suppose, recreation of what it is to be high vibration. You know the name of this podcast.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I know that I am capable of creating positive energy. Even through great suffering. You know, I lost my dad not long ago at all, in a very traumatic way. Yeah. So life, as we know, Ciara, throws challenges at us. And the work that I have done on myself, all the way rewinding to that little therapy room, what must be now 15 years ago, to where I am today, and all of the work I've done since then in terms of my own training, the books I've written, everything that I've created is like this huge, beautiful hammock that holds me. And I've managed to, you know, and what I really always wanted to do was to share that, because when you experience something quite profound, you actually want to share that, and you want to say, look, it is possible. Like a
Yeah.
friend of mine, Brian Penny, I'm sure you know his work, Brian Penny, but his tagline is change is possible. And it's like, yes, it is actually, you know.
Yeah,
He's
very
a
simple but true, because a lot of people don't believe it is. They believe they're stuck in the reality
exactly.
that they can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I love that. A hammock, I can really visualize that picture at all this positive stuff to support you and nurture you. And
Yeah.
no,
I think
that's
it's important
brilliant.
to be clear, though. It is a training, it is a practice, and it's one that you have to keep,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, it's work. There's a bit of work.
yeah. Even though work sounds like it's, you know, I think we have unfortunate negative connotations with the word work, right? But
Yeah,
I suppose it's like it's devotion, or it's a commitment, it's love, it's
that's a lot nicer. A lot nicer description.
yeah, but I know exactly what you mean, Ciara, like in terms of work. Like
Yeah, yeah.
there is a
Dedication.
conscious effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me this, like a lot of the women that I would work with, you know, some of the words that you hear are stuck. I
Mm-hmm.
feel lost.
Mm.
If you are working with somebody now, or what's your advice? Let's say, even if somebody doesn't feel brave enough to go and get help or get a therapist or, you know, a coach or whatever it is they need, where would you advise them to start?
Well, it's a bit like, you know, what I was saying earlier in terms of the signals were there. I was walking past that office and I saw it, but it was only me who could actually walk in that door. No one else was going to walk in the door and do it for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, quite often over the years, people have contacted me saying, will you see my wife, my husband, my sister, my brother, my dog, or
Yeah.
whatever it might
Yeah.
be? And the answer is no, unless
Mm,
they are in a position to
they
contact me
choose it.
directly and really want to do this themselves. So, you know, I think that realization can only come from the person. There's nothing that anyone else can actually do. I mean, the positives are that we live in a world that is much more open to this, and you know, we see it everywhere now. It's not that long ago what we're talking about, you know, in terms of, you know, even 10, 15 years. It's not that long, but things have shifted so significantly. So I do think we're in a better place than we
Yeah.
were. I think the workplace still has a yards and thousands of miles to go before it becomes truly sort of safe for people to speak about their emotional and mental well-being, because you know there's still stigmas there and people still hold back, which I can
Yeah.
understand, you know.
Yeah. And a lot of organizations have these initiatives, but
Mm.
most of the employees don't really believe that, you know, they're genuine or that they can, yeah,
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
speak their mind.
exactly. Yeah.
So in terms of, so I binged your content over the weekend,
Yeah.
and thank you for giving me a lovely positive weekend. A
Oh.
lot of good stuff there, Fiona. So one of your books is The Self-Love Habit.
Mm.
So in terms of, let's say, if somebody's starting out
Yeah.
looking at your content, you know, would
Yeah.
you be advising them to look at, yeah,
There she
self-love
is.
habit,
Yeah.
beautiful, really, really good content.
Mm.
Um, you know, is that the first place to start for somebody who wants to change, who's ready to change? Or would you be looking at your other book,
Mm-hmm.
The Positive Habit? Um,
We're having a
one
laugh now.
moment,
Come on.
please. You know,
Hey,
for
do you know what it's
you,
like here? It's like
yeah,
children. You know when it's like someone says,
my other baby.
"Oh, I'm talking about my son. I'll show you a picture." It's a bit like that. You can't help yourself because they are babies to you.
Yeah, you're lucky. My books have got this. Some of my books I say, nah, don't read that one. No, this one.
Yes. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one is the one to read. So
Yeah.
you're lucky that you still feel proud of all of your books.
I do.
So
I do. Yeah, definitely. I think if you were new to my work and you're new to this whole world, if you like, of let's say positive habit, neuroplastic training,
Yeah.
meditation, you know, affirmations, all of the work. I would say start with the positive habit, to be honest.
Mm.
It's still my best selling book, to be honest, out of all three of them. But it is the one that um I think has had the most impact on people all over the world. I had someone from Australia contact me who read it and wants to, you know, is booking in to see me. So there's a whole, it's really reached far and wide, which I'm very happy about.
And so positivity sometimes gets a bad name. You know,
Yes, yeah.
we hear about the toxic positivity. So does your definition of positivity, is it still the same as it was when you wrote that book, or has it shifted any, or what does it mean? Or what are you trying to encourage people to do?
I think it's, if anything, I'd say that this work is even more relevant. And no, it hasn't shifted at all since I wrote the book. I think that it it's, you know, clear, like even just from what I've been saying already, like the most positive thing we can do is feel our emotions, right? So feeling is healing. Toxic positivity is, it's kind of like, to be honest, it's just not really even, it's sort of looking at it something with such a narrow lens, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, I really do believe that we all have an innate capacity for happiness, um, regardless of what situations
Yeah.
are happening to us. And simply by we need to train our mind to have that positive offset, because the way that the brain works, it is a strong threat detection system. It is programmed to look towards the negative in terms of the negativity
Yeah.
bias to keep us alive. It's an out of date model that can cause so much suffering. So we have to take sort of control of this. Otherwise, we're at the mercy of this, you know, brain that produces thoughts that we believe.
That does
And
serve us. Yeah.
yeah, I love the Marcus Aurelius quote. You know, he said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So, you know, this book is really like, I'm really proud of it because it's so practical and it's so kind of getting into the nub of that thinking is a habit. Essentially, it's about creating 6 different positive emotional states, and it's very empowering to know that we can do that. That we have the capacity to create these emotional states.
Yeah.
Um, it's incredibly inspiring and hopeful, and you know, I think that message, you know, needs to be repeated and
Yeah.
heard again and again and again across the world, really.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, with a lot of the work that I do, it's that helping people to realize that they can control their thoughts, that their thoughts aren't just there,
Hmm.
that they, you know, they are the master of what's going on up there. Now, again, it takes some practice. But so that is one of the reasons I was attracted to you was the word habit, because as you may know, that is something that I work a lot with the habit piece.
Mm.
And my last book, Rise Before Your Bull and Other Habits of Successful People,
Hmm.
took me 10 years to write. Why I wrote it was because I was just, I could not understand why I couldn't create habits. So I went on this long search to, you know, start to understand habit, to research habit. And it took me that long to write because that's how long it took me to create the habit of rising early, which was the habit I wanted to create. Because I knew at that stage of my life, because my kids were small, I wanted to create that space for myself in the morning to, you know, meditate, to do all the things we want to do. So, you know, that was why it was so intriguing for me. And by this stage, 10 years later, and after writing a book, I do know how to create habits.
Great.
But
Yeah. Well done.
for
Yeah.
you, obviously, it was quite a big thing for you, habit, where you understood that real change happens through habit, through our daily actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose what I'm always the caveat with that is that I think we can't stay at the surface level of just, even this morning I had a client who said she wants it's like bizarre. She wants to get up in the morning and she's struggling with it and she's giving herself a hard time over it. Why can't she just do it? So I'm always interested, but what's the block there? Like, there's no point just being hard on yourself, that you can't somehow do this. We need to understand
just keep pushing. Doesn't work.
Like, it's a much deeper issue. Like, it seems like it's just surface. It seems like, it's very logical. Anyone can tell you, this is what you need to do. It's not rocket science. Like, it's back to what our mothers would have said, eat well, get up, eat early to bed, and all those things, those cliches are all still the same. So it's not lack of education or knowledge, but it's understanding what's holding you back. Why don't you value yourself enough to create that positive habit, right? And quite often it comes down to, sort of holding back because you don't value yourself, that you're putting other people first all the time. And that may seem like a selfless thing to do, but it isn't. It's actually selfish. And quite often when you start to unpack it, you can see that this is actually, it's a place for you to hide behind, perhaps. It's also, sort of, people can get stuck in martyrdom, or victimhood, or all of these very unhealthy patterns. So I think that it has to work. Like, we always have to work on those two levels, the conscious desire, if you like, and then the subconscious. What's going on there, and what's holding back these blocks in the subconscious mind. And often they go right back into our early years, and that's the work that I would have done back in that therapy room. That was exploring and understanding my own childhood from a position that I'd never done before, and most people don't do that, or more now, but it's something that we all need to do, really, on some level. And it's the best gift you give to yourself and to everybody you love, really,
And it is interesting because I know when I started going deeper into this work, it was initially, I was kind of, I don't need emotional healing. I had a normal life, a normal upbringing. But by God, did I get a smack in the face? So we all have some level of emotional healing to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And, it's that it's so understandable to be protective around it. It's like, I don't want to, it's almost a fear you can see in people. And it's so understandable. If I open that, what's going to happen? Is it going to be so overwhelming? I won't be able to cope. So, it's always about reassuring people to work with them in a gentle, very manageable way, slowly, with a lot of awareness, a lot of heart. I really believe in moving from the busy brain and into the heart. Because I feel that when we live from the heart, it's a very different energy, very different experience. And we are, we're living through love rather than living through fear. Like, this is, if we're up here in the brain with those fear-induced thoughts,
fear-based. Yeah.
The world is a frightening place, but if we can, which we can, train ourselves to drop into the heart, then we move into a whole different vibration. Like, literally, as you probably know, the heart has a high frequency radius. I think it's 3 feet around us, and the heart radiates.
Yeah, I'm a heart math coach as well. So
there you go. Yes, exactly. That's the training.
And all of that.
Yeah.
But just to track back there just slightly in terms of that fear of unleashing what might be there. I think it's important to say also, for a lot of women, for a lot of mothers, we don't feel like we have the space to do that. I remember years ago being at a craniosacral therapist and him saying to me, I feel like you're just holding it all together. And I remember nearly being angry, saying, of course I'm effing well holding it all together. How else do I keep my kids fed and, make money and all of this? So, but we have to find a little bit of space for ourselves to start the journey. And if you can find, I think, a caring and good therapist, they will manage that opening up so that, it doesn't have to be all unleashed at once. Wouldn't that be, fair to say?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
just, and
I know what you're
you
saying.
can do it gradually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that has to
Yeah,
be it's very skilled work, and it has to be done gradually. It's so much better to make small, tiny progress rather than trying to, the quick fix thing is always to be avoided.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Fiona, I'd love to keep you here all day, but I'm not letting you go
Yeah.
just yet.
No problem. No, I'm
I have
fine. Yeah.
so many more questions I'd love to ask you, but I have a few that I really think might help other people
Hmm.
in terms of your own habits. So, there are so many things we could be doing, should be doing, would like to be doing. What are your personal habits that keep you in a high vibrational state, that keep you in that lovely positive vibe that you share around? What's
Yeah.
your
Well, I suppose it's like everything is in context, right? I think that's so important because, someone listening to this could have two young children and a parent in hospital, and, they're going, well, it's all very well for Miss there who, so our lives change at different stages, and we've got to do our best within the context of what we have, so for example, I had a period there obviously that was very, very difficult with my father in hospital, and all of my, I do practice very much what I preach. So, I have like,
Phew?
it's almost, yeah, but it's almost like a little bit probably nauseating, like, because my son is 17. I've got a lot more time now. I work for myself.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of these things in my
yeah, of
favor, right? That
course.
in fairness, I have created, but still make it easier for me. But during that period, uh, I literally held on as tight as I could to whatever I could, right?
Right.
So I remember doing, for example, the park run on the Saturdays, because I found it really hard. I'm not like a marathon runner, right? So I found that a real endurance thing. So as I was going through it, I felt like this is actually I'm kind of mentally and emotionally going through it's like the physical comparison of what I'm having to go through with dad at the moment. Or I do a really hot yoga class back, that was
Mm,
actually hard. I was kind of
yeah.
putting myself into it. Sounds like counterproductive, but somehow that helped me get through. But in my life now, where I'm back into a much more, I suppose, what's the word, privileged routine, if you like, I do have a very strong morning practice, that really, in the light months of the year, consists of getting up and getting out.
Right.
It's
Lovely.
so
Yeah.
powerful. It's so simple, but I literally get up, I throw on an old tracksuit, whatever I can, and I get outside and I go for a run. And I say run like it's not, again, it's very, so I'm not pushing myself here, right?
You move down the road.
I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of rolling down the road a bit. I'll get as much sunlight into my eyes as I can. My third
Brilliant.
book is on sleep, so I know a lot
Yeah.
about sleep, and I want to sleep well, and I do sleep unbelievably well, and so I'm getting that light in, and then I will set my intention for the day. And actually, I've been using Insight Timer for that recently because they have a little widget
Oh,
on
yeah.
there. Yeah, it's
That's
really
right.
good because you can
Yeah.
see it on your phone then, right? So it's like
Yeah.
there. Okay, will I read you today just for a laugh?
Absolutely. Please.
Okay, hang on now. Where's it going? Oh yeah, this was in honor of your good self, Ciara. So my intention is to keep my vibration high, help my clients, and be open to dreaming big.
Beautiful.
Right. So I said that this morning, and I do that every single day. So you have it on your phone, and then it just kind of keeps
You have
you.
that reminder.
Yeah, it's a little reminder. And I also send it to my son as a way of, just kind of a little checking in with him and saying, look, here you
Brilliant.
go, pet. Yeah, I don't know if he even reads them, but I
Yeah.
send them to him anyway. And I think that's the thing with vibration and positive energy is always share it, share it, and share it, and share it. When you have it, share it
Yeah.
because it is contagious.
Yeah.
So yeah, my morning routine would be, I suppose, the one solid thing that I have, that I hold on to. And it does set the tone. Like, it is the most important time in terms of setting that your vibration for the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you, like, I know you went through a bad period, but let's say you have a bad day or two, maybe you're sick or something. What's the one thing that gets you back on track? Do you have any kind of self-rescue plan? Or
I would say questioning my thoughts. Like, if I know I'm going down, if I can feel that I'm going into a place that isn't very, I'll stop and I'll pause and I'll actually write down, what am I telling myself here? And it's so helpful, because when you see what you're saying to yourself, you go, no wonder I'm feeling bad
yeah,
form.
yeah,
This is really strong negative stuff that I'm hurling at myself. So I would question my thoughts and, you know, clear them out so that they're not weighing me down. But like I said, that comes from a place of a lot of resource and practice. And yeah, like, it's that body of work that is there. I think it's like money in the bank. You have it, so you can access it. So it's hard to, because I've been, as I say, I've been going through grief, so it's a different period. But generally speaking, and before my dad died, I don't have many bad days, and I don't mean that as a but I really don't, because I kind of intervene quicker. I might have bad moments, I might have bad hours, but I don't have prolonged periods of time that I would
yeah.
feel anxious or
That's something I always describe to my clients. It's
yeah.
like when you start off and you start to get that awareness
Yes.
that you can change, it might take you a couple of days to reset, maybe a couple of weeks
Yeah.
at the beginning. But the more work that you do, the
Yeah.
more you repeat these beautiful habits like
Yeah.
setting intentions, meditation. When we look after ourselves this way, that reset becomes quicker and quicker, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah,
And
we're still human. You get the negative thoughts.
yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
feel crappy some days.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's important to remember, like, you and I are at this a long time. I'm 18 years now in this field as
Wow.
well. So,
Yeah.
we've had the opportunity to try out a lot of things, to make mistakes, to,
Yeah.
try new habits and see if that fits better. So it's really important for people to remember that, we just have to keep trying something. Some people will say, I tried meditation, doesn't work for me. Now, I don't believe that, being a meditation teacher, but it is, it is that thing. There's some type of meditation, there's some kind of practice that's going to work for you. And starting small, like you said, is really important. Just try
Absolutely.
one small thing and keep at it to, because we can all change. Yeah, it is a big journey for some people, shorter for others, but the potential is there to have a beautiful life like you've created, where you can stay in that positive energy and high vibration.
Yeah, exactly. And just, I think, our greatest expert is ourselves, that the wisdom that we seek and the happiness we seek, it's within us. And, our work, I suppose, Ciara, is just helping people to let that emerge. It's already there. It's just a case of really providing the environment, predominantly the environment that allows that to come forth. And then that becomes the habitual state through practice and through training. But essentially, we're talking about, you can put the word positive, happy, but what we're really talking about is love, essentially, you
Mm,
know.
mm,
And when we go through difficult, traumatic experiences, it boils down to a simple thing, that in the end, literally in the end, there is nothing left but love. There's nothing left. None of it else, nothing else matters. And that perspective, You know, when you can get that perspective into your life every day, it just transforms how you live, the relationships you have, what you once would have got stressed about. It's just not important. It's just not
Yeah.
relevant. It's like,
There's the mic drop. Yeah. Nothing else but love. That's a beautiful place to
yeah,
maybe wrap up,
yeah,
because I don't want to ramble on anymore after that beautiful thought that you're leaving us with. But Fiona, you have some retreats coming up.
I
Do
do.
you want to tell us about them?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Ciara. Yeah. So I have a 1 day event, The Art of Living, that is happening on Sunday, May 18th in Blessington, the Avon. It's a lovely, I don't know if you've ever been here, but it's a gorgeous
No.
venue. Beautiful. It
I'd
overlooks
love
the
fab.
Blessington Lakes, and it's just very, very stunning place. That's happening. And then also I'm bringing a group is coming out to me in Crete in June for a 7 day, very immersive experience. That this is the fourth one we've run, light up retreats. Myself and my husband Kieran, who now works with me full time and has done for the last nearly 4 years, which is
And you're
amazing.
still positive and
We're
happy,
still
yeah?
positive. Oh God, we joke and we say, if this wasn't the work that we were doing, we'd probably have killed each other.
We've a lot to learn from you.
Yeah. Seriously, it's not for the faint-hearted, but we do it, and we do our, we were very happy. Yeah. So those are the two events, and you can find out about them on my website, The Positive Habit, or my Instagram, which is
Yeah.
The Positive Habit.
And all the information on your books and
Yeah.
courses and retreats are on your website, and we'll put all that in the show notes after.
Thank you, Ciara.
So I am so grateful that you agreed to come on the podcast and share your wisdom. We might have to have you back again because we left a lot unsaid. I'm sure we can learn a lot more from you. So
Thank you, Ciara. You've definitely risen my vibration. You're helping me with my intention today, because you exude lovely energy as well. So thank you so much.
thank you. Have a wonderful day. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I certainly did. And I hope you got some really good ideas for how to allow yourself to stay in high vibration more frequently. Remember, this podcast is accompanied by a quiz, the High Vibration Reset Quiz. And that quiz will show you the energetic block most likely keeping you stuck right now. So don't forget to take the quiz. And after taking it, you will be guided to the podcast episode that has been recorded specifically for your success block archetype. You'll also receive a free meditation, which will help you to remove that specific block. Now, what I really hope that you got from this episode is that you are never too stuck or too lost or even too messed up to reset. Seek out a therapist or a coach to help you to get unstuck. There are fabulous, kind, and loving therapists like Fiona, or conscious, supportive coaches to help you on your path to feeling whole again. If you want to find out more about Fiona, her website is thepositivehabit.com, and you'll find all the details of her books, which I highly recommend, her upcoming retreats, and how to work with her in general. The links are below in the show notes. And if you want to find out more about working with me, you can find details on my website of all of my coaching programs, information on the Lifeflow Community or the Lifeflow Planner, which is created to help you stay organized and on track with your goals. So thank you for joining us, and make sure you're following the podcast so that you don't miss the next episode. Have a beautiful inner day.